Hello, today we will be discussing how to make the Pigrrl 2. The Pigrrl 2 is a homemade emulator using a Raspberry Pi and some components that come online from Adafruit. Now step one for me is to start with the files. I like to do the SD card first because when we're done, who wants to do this last? So step one will be to go to the Adafruit website and look up the Pigrrl 2 overview page. Then go down here to software, and we want to download the current version of RetroPie here. And today we'll be using Etcher to write the file to the SD card, which is a software that works on both Windows and Mac. Etcher is an open source program that flashes OS images to SD cards and USB drives. Now, after you've downloaded and installed Etcher, download the image for RetroPie. Please choose the correct Raspberry Pi, as if you have a 2 or 3 and you choose the 0 or 1 file, it will not work. After, while you are downloading the image, grab your SD card out and insert it into your computer, making sure that the lock on the SD card's off so that you can access the files on it. The image is downloaded. Select the image wherever you have it. Open it. Then select your SD card. Mine has no name in this. And then flash. Now, while you wait for the flashing, we'll go down and we'll start on the physical aspect of this. Before we start on the physical, we want to make sure that we have all of the pieces, as when missing pieces, we won't be able to complete the stuff. So make sure you look through the list and make sure you have every single piece, making sure not to forget one. Remember the small pieces such as the switch, the amplifier, the buttons, the SD card, and the GPIO header. Step 1. Grab out the Game Board PCB for the gamepad. This is the PCB. Your kit will come with two size buttons. This size, 12 by 6, and these smaller tactile button switches. Grab the smaller ones and put them in these spots like so. And then it just pops into place. And then you turn it over, and we're going to want to solder these points in the back. Make sure to hold them through when you're doing that. After putting each button in, now you need to solder the points. What you want to do is heat one side and then bring the solder on the other side. And here on the left is an example of what we want our soldering points to look like. A minimal solder but completely covered. Okay, after you have soldered all the buttons in place, making sure that all the points are clean, you want to get this GPIO header out the box. Making sure to watch this notch on the top. You want to insert it into the back of the board like so. Making sure, that this notch, let's get that focused in here, that this notch is facing up. Then we want to secure it, turn it around, and solder all the individual points. The next step will be to grab out your amplifier chip. Now, we want to put a little bit of solder to make it easier for us before over the plus, the minus, the plus audio in, the minus audio in, the 2 to 5 DC, and the ground on the top side. Then we want to take our positive and negative from the speaker and solder them into these two pins, the minus and the plus. The next step will be to solder the amp to the power boost circuit. You want to solder the VIN pin on the amp to the 5V pin on the power boost circuit, and the GND on the amp to the G pin on the power boost circuit. As it comes with 3. Then you want to solder 2 wires to this switch. Be to solder the switch to the power boost. The polarity doesn't matter, but put the 2 wires in the EN and GND positions. Twisting the wire sometimes helps when it won't go through the hole a little bit. The next step will be to solder the Raspberry Pi to the amp. First, we want to take our 2 leads and attach one to this left pin right here. The next step is the buttons. It comes with 4 pins like so. What you want to do is take off 2 of the pins and then straighten out the other 2. After the pins are straightened out, they are ready to be soldered. Be sure to prepare your gamepad PCB because you'll be soldering the wires to right here and then those wires to the buttons. When you are ready to solder the gamepad PCB, the first step will be to solder 2 wires to the power 5V and the ground pin here. Then we will want to solder 4 wires to these pins. The way it works is left, right, ground, ground. So 1 pin for the left shoulder, for example, will be connected here, and then the ground would be connected here. If you had connected both of the left shoulder pins here and here, it would not work. The next step will be to wire the gamepad PCB to the power boost circuit, making sure to read which one is the 5V and which one's the ground. Take your 5V wire and connect it to the positive output on the power boost circuit. Then take your negative, connect it, and solder. Now, after you've completed assembly of the Pigrrl, it's time to look for a case. You can order a case online or 3D print one yourself with the instructions that are located on the ADA Fruit website. Now, there's many remixes to the Pigrrl 2 case, and I didn't include a video of assembly of the case because there's many different kinds of cases and different ways that you can put this together, and the idea is that you put it together in a way that is your own. Here is the case that I chose to go with. This is a bit of an unconventional case because located in the back here, we have an HDMI port that can be plugged off the Pi. But as you can see, I chose to print my case out in PLA. And everything's on here. The power switch goes here. This is for the SD card. These are the ports for the Raspberry Pi. And this is the screen. Congratulations! If you have completed all of these tasks, you have successfully completed the assembly of your Pigrrl 2. Now, just some things to watch out for while you're assembling it. Please make sure to be careful with the soldering iron as it is very easy to burn yourself, and please try to make sure not to apply the soldering iron to the board for too long because it is pretty easy to burn the boards. And just remember, if you're troubleshooting anything, first to go back through and check the wiring diagram located on the ADA Fruit website. And make sure that you have done everything correctly. Now, when my Pigrrl 2 is done, Mine did not turn on because of a faulty power boost circuit. Now, the first thing I did was troubleshoot my wiring diagram and make sure that I had no issues in my wiring, and I checked every single solder point because these can be very easy points of weakness. Then I went and checked the voltage in the battery, and we were noticing a strong, steady voltage. So we knew that the problem was not there, and we tried the Raspberry Pi, powering it on through an external USB source, and that worked perfectly. So we came to the conclusion that my power boost circuit is not good. What it does is it just heats up, so it's just causing some kind of short circuit and dissipating heat. Now, if you find an issue like this, please make sure to unplug the battery because issues of short circuits and heat can easily cause fires. Even with small electronics, you should be careful of these things. Good luck.